Hey guys, what is up? It's TotalXclipse here with my first ever trailer analysis, and this is going to be on Battlefield 1, so please let me know if you find this video enlightening. Now, first off, I'd like to say it's great that DICE are taking us back a whole century to World War 1. Now, this release trailer is absolutely gorgeous and full to the brim with information and clues about what we are possibly going to be seeing in the full release. So jumping straight into our first scene, we have a war-torn muddy no man's land, which was a typical sight throughout the First World War. First things we actually notice is the use of a German soldier using the spiked mace, or a homemade trench club. Now, during World War I, soldiers often made their own close combat weapons for raids during the night. Now, also notice the British soldier's grenade pack. Now, this could be a bundled up grenade stick, but I like to think it's actually the German M17 grenade, which would suggest that, like with all Battlefield games, we'll be given the option to choose what weapons and grenades we use regardless of what side we're playing on. Now, moving on, some of the maps will be set in the desert, relieving us from the dark and dismal horrors of trench warfare. Secondly, that cavalry are confirmed in the game. They are actually going to be a bit like vehicles, they're being classed as vehicles. So whether the saber that we see, whether that will be only for use when you're on a horse, we don't know. Women will also have an active part in the game, and 5, the woman seems to be from a Bedouin tribe. Now, this is based on her markings, which would make sense as they fought the Ottoman Empire in World War I. Now, next up, we have our first look at the airplanes of World War I. So we have 2 biplanes, which I believe are both the British Bristol F2s, and we can also see a Fokker DR1 triplane just in the background there. Now, more interestingly, this is a multi-crew plane with both a pilot and a rear seat gunner. We also see the blimps again, which will act as some great obstacles for dogfighting in the fighters, bringing the importance of pilot skill to this game. Also note that you can't fly directly beneath the blimps either, as the metal cables would rip through the plane's canvas coverings. Now, whether this is implemented in-game, who knows, but I like to think it will be. Now, during the scene which follows on from this, we see 2 yellow shells firing down on no man's land, which could be either artillery or possibly a secondary weapon used by the planes. However, I find it unlikely that it is a secondary weapon for the planes, but we can live in hope. Now, there is also a rather intense hand-to-hand combat happening on the ground, which leads directly onto the following scene where we see a British soldier clobbered to death by a German's trench shovel. The British aren't doing very well in this trailer so far. Notice that the clobbered British soldier also drops a shotgun, which looks like it could be the trench gun. Can't remember the actual name of the trench gun. I think it's something like the Winchester 1889 or something. 1989. Now, judging by the 2 crutches on the German's back here, it is a possibility that this could be our first look at the medic class in the game, and it is also confirmed that there will be 4 classes in total in the game. So we have the assault, the medic, the support, and the scout class. Now, just when we thought we'd seen enough, we catch a glimpse of the Fokker DR1 triplane made famous by the Red Baron, pursuing a biplane in another desert-looking location through a canyon. How epic would the canyon dogfighting be? And the great thing about this game is that there are no lock-on missiles, which, if you disagree with me, please feel free to let me know in the comment section below. But it's going to really focus on the pilot's skill, the dogfighting with you having to use the mounted machine guns effectively. It's something that really excites me. and it gives me a chance to use my HOTAS. Yes! Now the biplane is shot down and crashes straight into a windmill, which just shows off the awesome destructive nature of DICE's engine. Notice that this scene may well be from the single player campaign, as we can see an officer in the bottom right hand corner. Now the following scene takes a slightly different approach from the infantry warfare we've seen so far, in the form of one of the most iconic tanks of British history. Now this is the Big Willie, which I believe is the Mark IV class, which was actually first designed and developed in my home city of Lincoln. Now that's your fact of the day. Now these tanks were first used during the Battle of the Somme in 1916. Now taking a second away from the beautiful tank that we have here, take a look at the awesome soldier on the left hand side. Now we have yet to find out whether this guy is a support class or a scout, but what we can see is that he's wielding the mighty Mauser 1918 T anti-tank rifle. Yes, I know that I got that name wrong. I can never say the Guru. Anyway, it's an anti-tank rifle which was able to penetrate tanks' armor at the risk of crippling the soldier of the marksman who was using it. Many people ended up having broken collarbones and shoulders from using it because it was just so powerful with the recoil. To be honest, with this I am just really excited to blow someone's head off with it. I can just see it like bursting from the sheer velocity of the bullet. Now also notice the bipod on this, which suggests that either it has to be set before being used, before it is used, or that we can mod our weapons with attachments like we have in previous Battlefield games. Now one more thing to note in this scene is that the marksman also has what appears to be a trench knife attached to his leg, which is also another melee weapon. The following scene gives us our first look at the pistols in play, as a shifty character dives through a window firing a semi-automatic pistol, which looks most likely like an American Colt 1911 0.45 inch, or it could be a Steyr automatic. I'm not sure if I said that right. Steyr. I think that's an Italian automatic pistol, semi-automatic pistol. Sorry. Now here we have probably the most epic scene in the game and our first person gameplay. Now first notice the Lewis LMG in use, followed by the British soldier dropping what looks to be the iconic Lee Enfield rifle. Another thing you've probably noticed is the confirmation of gas as a chemical weapon in the game. Now whether it's a grenade or an artillery shell we don't know, nor do we know the type of gas, although by its colour we can assume it's either mustard gas or possibly chlorine gas. Either way, the German trooper isn't going to fare well from this. Also note the beautiful forest landscape, which could even be tropical, and based possibly in Africa, judging by the ruins. I might be wrong there, that's just me speculating. There's also another key point to take in from this scene. To the right we can see field guns firing. Now will these be fixed weapon points in the game? Probably, judging by what they've done in previous Battlefield games, and would be useful at fighting the enemy armor. So we might see a lot more control over trying to capture these field gun pieces, simply because troops didn't have many forms of anti-tank weaponry. Now this scene ends with the coolest cut, whereby the player places on his gas mask, confirming it will be a significant part of the game, and it also gives us an idea of how restricted the masks will be if we're going to be using it prior to a gas attack. Here we have what looks like a German soldier wearing full plate armor. He looks so menacing. Now the use of the plate armor did stop bullets, although it was only really used by people on watch or using fixed machine guns simply because they were such easy targets for snipers. Now, whether this is solely for the support class, who were the only class in game who were able to use heavy weapons, we don't know. It looks like this map is set in the Alps, most likely the Italian Alps, judging from the various sources, and the central of the map is actually littered by a gorgeous little church surrounded by a small village, which really sets the scene. Now here we get another stunning shot of a tank, but this time a close-up of its insignia, which looks like it belongs to the British Life Guard Cavalry, although this would be an awesome chance to implement customizability for tank logos for every player in game. Just a thought, they might be hinting at that, or they might just be showing you who's going to be using the vehicles in the campaign. Now this is such a lovely shot of the trenches, and notice the soldier equipping a bayonet to his rifle. I read somewhere that bayonet charges are confirmed. You can actually do that, which is going to be awesome. Now I should mention I'm not a massive history buff, and that I may be mistaken believing that these troops are British, but judging by the Brody helmet, I'm assuming they are. The interesting part here is that it looks like a British tank is rolling over the trenches, which leads me to believe that the Axis could be using captured British tanks in some multiplayer games. Now I should note that this is actually historically accurate, this did happen. Now next we get an awesome look at the flamethrowers, which were first developed by the Germans during World War I, followed by an armoured train in the desert. Now I'd love this train to have a large focus during a multiplayer mission, and it may even be part of an objective based multiplayer game mode, judging by the fact that there is also a woodland based map which also has a train line running through it, and that has been leaked. Look, here we have sea battles. This could be so epic. Here we see what looks like a British battleship, or possibly super dreadnought, releasing a volley of artillery rounds. Even more interestingly, in the next scene we see a fighter being shot down by another fighter. Also note the possible progressive damage states from it being shot down, which leads me to the thought of whether or not pilots will have to maintain control of a fighter as it gets damaged. Which could be a really interesting gameplay mechanic and could make the game a whole lot more difficult. The fighter in the foreground actually has rockets attached to the wings, which suggests that secondary weapons are confirmed, and these could be used for hitting ground targets or possibly for destroying an objective in an objective based game. Anyone up for sinking the battleship by any chance? Now anyway, the following short clip also shows a twin-engined plane crashing into the ground, which suggests that we could be seeing bombercraft. Now here notice the artillery barrage that's being fired by what looks like 3 howitzers. A very important strategy used in World War I was the creeping barrage, where troops would walk a few feet behind the artillery shells that were fired. Now will this be used by players in-game? I don't know. Or is this going to be like an AI mechanic where there will be constant artillery shells littered across the battlefield, maybe along no man's land, so you have to focus on trench warfare up until the point where the whistle sounds and the artillery stop for a minute at a time, and we charge over the trenches. Then we get a sneak preview of our first-person sniper rifle gameplay. For a split second we get to see a rifle attached with a side-mounted scope, which I believe is either the British Lee Enfield SMLE variant, or it could even be the Springfield rifle. Now the final shot is an epic airship flying above a battle-weary soldier. Now I want to say this is a Zeppelin, but I can't identify the variant, and I'm aware that not all airships were Zeppelins. Now will this be another possible objective-based game mode? I don't know, but it could be. Anyway, I'll let you know as soon as I do know more. Now anyway guys, if you want to keep up to date with Battlefield 1 news or want to watch some more awesome PC and Vive gameplay, then subscribe, and remember, if you did like the video, drop me a thumbs up. It really is appreciated, and I'd love to find out what you guys thought of my first trailer breakdown. Please let me know in the comment section below. I really would appreciate it. Anyway, I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video.